In the past, choosing between a Medicare health plan that was an HMO or a PPO was a pretty easy choice. I mean, I had clients who would rather have gone to a world-renowned veterinarian rather than get their health care through an HMO. But today, HMOs, especially with Medicare, well, they're not your grandma's HMO. And with the way that they are being run now, it might even be worth considering an HMO. But of course, they're not perfect. So let's talk about that. Now, this is Michael's Medicare, where we talk about all things Medicare, from plans to benefits to enrollment periods, extra help, prescription drug coverage, Medigap, and really the whole kit and caboodle that is Medicare. But before we get to it, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does help our channel to grow, but also because it'll mean that it'll keep you up to date about the newest Medicare changes, the newest Medicare options, and ways to make more, better informed Medicare decisions. All right, here we go. First off, let's talk about when an HMO or PPO comes into play, specifically for somebody who's on Medicare, because it's not exactly the same as when somebody had a health plan, maybe through their work or through an exchange, or just generally under the age of 65 years old. Original Medicare, which is composed of two parts, Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B, is the health plan that folks who are 65 years or older, or under if they have specific health conditions, enroll into. It's a federal health program run by the federal government, that is Medicare, and Medicare itself doesn't actually have any networks at all. There's no PPOs or HMOs under Original Medicare. It's just a system where if the doctor is willing to accept the payments from Medicare, then you can go see that doctor. So from the beneficiary or the patient side, it's pretty easy. Where the HMO and the PPO comes into play for Medicare is because of the fact that Original Medicare, that's Part A and Part B, well, they don't exactly cover everything. It has deductibles, it has daily rates for the Part A portion, and co-insurances and deductibles for the Part B section. That ultimately comes out to around 80-20 split for the beneficiary and Medicare. That is, Medicare pays 80% and the beneficiary pays 20%. So Original Medicare, it doesn't cover some costs, and it also doesn't include things like medications, hearing, vision, dental, and a variety of other needs that beneficiaries have throughout the year. And why doesn't it? Well, the short answer is Congress. Write your congressperson. But this is the reason why folks look to add additional coverage, be it for medications or Medicare Part D plans or prescription drug plans, Medicare supplements to help them pay for some of those costs that are not covered by Medicare, or even Medicare Advantage plans or MAPDs or Medicare Part Cs, or sometimes even called a Medicare Health Plan. Those are all the same thing. And this is where the decision about choosing an HMO or a PPO really starts to come into play. Medicare Advantage plans are essentially health plans that are designed for folks on Medicare, so they are pretty similar to something a person might have had through a work or a spouse or a union, where if a person is eligible for both Medicare Part A and Part B, then they can choose to enroll into a Medicare Advantage plan when they have a valid enrollment period. These plans are run by private health insurance companies that sort of replace somebody's Medicare. They don't really replace it, but it just kind of moves Original Medicare to the background, and instead the private health insurance company will administer all the benefits, will contract with all the doctors, collect payments, and essentially manage one's healthcare kind of universe. So it's not that somebody loses their Medicare benefits when they enroll into a Medicare Advantage plan, it's just that most of the things that they use, they will not use their Medicare card when they go see the doctor, rather they're going to use their insurance card when they go utilize their services like they would before they had Medicare. Now, one of the ways that these health insurance plans for folks who are on Medicare is run like an under 65-year-old plan is that the healthcare is managed by what's called an HMO, or a health maintenance organization. Now, the HMO will administer healthcare through a system of networks of doctors that will limit the beneficiary to those doctors who are in network or doctors who are contracted with that HMO. So this can be specialists, this can be primary care doctors, this can be physical therapists. Really, anybody who's administering healthcare has to be a part of that network the HMO is contracted to in order for the Medicare beneficiary to be able to go see those doctors. Beneficiaries really are not allowed to go see doctors that are outside of that network, except for without specific authorization that is not always easy to get. Furthermore, for high dollar procedures or therapies or treatments, the HMO can limit how often, how much, and of course, which doctors or medical practitioners a person is able to utilize. So why did folks choose HMOs? Well, one benefit to an HMO, and it is a pretty big benefit, is that the cost someone pays for their services when they go see a doctor or a specialist are set at a copay, which can, depending on the plan, range anywhere from a couple dollars down to $0 a visit. Additionally, they have an out-of-pocket maximum or a cap on the amount of money in a year that someone can spend on their healthcare, of course excluding drugs. That can easily fit within somebody's healthcare budget quite well. So the long and the short of it is that HMOs will limit somebody's doctors' networks, their hospitals, and their care, but in exchange they give them back predictable costs, caps on their costs, and includes coverage for things not covered under a Medigap plan or even original Medicare, like prescription drugs, hearing, vision, as well as dental, and sometimes transportation, and really a whole plethora of other things. Now that is the Medicare Part C or the Medicare Advantage HMO, but especially more recently, we have begun to see more and more insurance companies come out with a PPO or a Preferred Provider Organization plan, which are kind of a more open style of managed care that allows beneficiaries to see doctors who are contracted with the insurance plan and are preferred, as well as doctors who are not directly contracted but at an additional cost and they are non-preferred. For most PPOs, they will work similar to an HMO in which they will still have an in-network of doctors. And when someone goes to see those in-network doctors, they will be more like an HMO with a set copay, have set limits on how much they can spend in the year. But it also allows folks to see those doctors who are out of network, so not directly contracted, but at a larger share of cost to the beneficiary, be it copays or more often than not a larger co-insurance, meaning a percentage of the cost and a larger out-of-pocket maximum that'll have to be paid by the beneficiary. So what folks gain under a PPO is a much larger range of choice of doctors, hospitals, and networks because they have in-networks and out-of-network doctors that are accessible, that can be utilized for their services, but with a higher potential cost for those doctors who are non-preferred providers who are outside of the network. So this brings us to the final question, which is, which one's better? Medicare Part C, that is an HMO, or Medicare Part C, that is a PPO? And the answer, like basically everything in Medicare and really everything in life, is that, it depends. It's going to depend on the doctors, on the hospitals, on the networks that somebody needs to utilize, but also what is somebody's healthcare budget and their expectations for care. The strengths of the PPO plans are primarily that they will allow someone to go see a much bigger range of doctors, and they don't have to get prior approval, and they don't have to go to a primary care doctor or a PCP or a gatekeeper to get additional services. But that optionality, that freedom comes at a cost, and PPOs tend to have a higher share of cost, higher monthly premiums, which could mean that with that higher cost, having an option to see doctors but not being able to afford it, which could sort of offset the advantage of having the option. On the HMO side, the HMO plans are going to limit somebody to their in-network providers, and they will tend to have more predictable costs and limit how much someone has to spend throughout the year. But of course, there are limitations. Specifically here in Southern California, there are some of the most popular doctors' networks who don't always take HMOs because of how HMO contracts compensate the doctors. Spoiler alert, it's lower than other styles of health plans. But if you are in a situation where you don't really have a lot of doctors, or have doctors that are covered by the HMO, so they're all going to be in network by one HMO or another HMO plan, then it may make sense for you to choose that plan because you don't really need a wide options of doctors and hospital networks. But making those decisions should be really well thought out. If you come to a blocking point or a situation where you're not sure what to do, there's no shame in getting a little help from a professional that can at least give you maybe some additional options you never thought about, or at least some additional perspective about how both the HMOs or the PPOs or the doctors networks in general or Medicare in general works. Now that's going to be it for today's Michael's Medicare. And if you have additional questions or you want to get more information about your specific situation, feel free to reach out to us at the information down below in the comments, or give us a call, or check out our other great videos on the socials, on the YouTube, on Instagram. We got great content coming out for Medicare every single week. So Michael's Medicare, I'm hoping you have a great rest of your day, and